Okay, so those are the types of liens. We're going to touch on general liens here in a minute. So all we talked about right now was specific, which only deal in real estate or real property. What does the lien effect have on your property? Remember way back, you have the right of disposition. I told you it's your property, you can get rid of it the way you want. And then I jokingly said the rest of the book, we're going to talk about how we take these rights away from you. I wasn't joking. Here we go again. The effect a lien has on your property is, in essence, it reduces your ability to get rid of the property easily. All right? Hey, I've got a $100,000 home. I'm going to give it to my son. Well, that's all fine and dandy, except Fifth Third's loaned you 80 grand. They're going to want that money. And as you remember from previous chapters, if I give it away, I have alienated myself. The mortgage company will call the loan due. So I cannot truly give it away now. And in some cases, I may have more value, or let's put it this way, more debt than value. And it's now completely upside down. What's the value of a $100,000 property that I owe $200,000 in liens on? Nothing, because I can't transfer it without bringing money to the table. Now, one of the things I want to go in depth in right here is talking about how liens get applied. So I'm going to have to try and put a separate video in for the online for this section because I want to do some drawing on the board. So let's talk about some liens. Here's my mythical $150,000 house. So everybody write that down, $150,000. That's the value. I borrow $100,000 from Fifth Third on January the 1st of 2011. Its priority is number one. Now, it's priority number one right now mainly because it's the only one. It's the only lien I got on my house. So what was the value of the house? $150. How much is the lien? $100. Now I sell the house. The first $100,000, that's why it's called first lien, goes to Fifth Third. I have now cleared the lien, which is what the buyer asked for me to do, remember, in a general warranty deed, that I would remove all the liens. So I did it. I keep the 50 and move on. That's how this basically works. So now I got a second lien. I wanted to borrow $50,000 from Nat City to go on a really cool vacation. I bought it on January the 1st, 2012. It gets recorded second. Now, I've got a really strange deja vu feeling going on. Have we gone over this? Because it feels like I just taught this. So now I've got two liens. They were recorded by date. First lien for 100 grand gets the first 100,000. Second lien gets the next 50. And I walk away with nothing. Right? So now I get a third lien on my property for $10,000. It's a HVAC lien, which would be a vendor's lien or a mechanic's lien for 10 grand. Now here's the problem. Hopefully you guys see the problem. The house is worth $150. I have a first lien for $100, a second lien for $50, and then this mechanic's lien for $10,000. This is exactly what I was talking about. I cannot clear, is the word, all of the liens. House is only worth 150. I owe, finger quotes, 160. Without me bringing money to the table, this house now has no value because I can't transfer it. I can't get rid of it. Okay? Now, there was one other thing that we had touched on, was this thing called subordination. A subordination agreement is when two people switch. So let's go back to the first two liens. The first two liens. Let's get rid of that. So I got the 50 lien, I got the $100,000 lien from Fifth Third, and a $50,000 from PNC. Fifth Third calls me and says, hey Raymond, we really like your credit score. We're going to refinance your interest rate to 0, and we're going to refinance today. Remember, a refinance is a legal sale with a repurchase. So what ends up happening is the first lien gets paid off from Fifth Third of 100. What is today? Yeah. So the first lien's now gone. It comes back in on today's date, but look what happened to the second lien a minute. That was the second lien a minute ago, is now what lien? This is like Jenga or Tetris. You pull one out and they all slide down. So the second lien from that city now becomes first, and Fifth Third's new lien now becomes second because it got recorded on today's date. So what you have monetarily is I still owe $150,000. It's just now 50 is now the first, then 100. Do you think they like this? No. All right? So what happens is, has anybody ever had a second lien on their house compared to the first lien? What's the interest rate? Higher. That's all we really need to know. Why is the second lien's interest rate higher than the first? They're taking more risk. So in this scenario, while the numbers work out, still owe 150, it's just prioritized differently. First would look at second and go, look, we know that we're supposed to be a second lien. We're getting a higher interest rate. We are going to allow you to step back in front of us, even though you have a newer date. We're going to let you have first priority again. So what you see now, if you've done everything correctly, is Fifth Third's $100,000 lien. Even though it's recorded later, it's still first priority because of that subordination agreement that allows them to change. And a subordination agreement isn't federally mandated in all second loans anyway. It's got to be in there. So they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. All right? So the old saying about first one in is the first one out, that's technically not true all of the time. They get recorded by date, they get paid off by priority. And priorities can change if there is a subordination agreement between them that allows the order to change. Now, the thing you need to understand is that it only allows them to change adjacent liens, which means first and second, second and third, third and fourth. Example, did I give you the standing in line example for the movie theater? Oh, I didn't? See, I felt like I've done that. I teach too much. So if I'm standing in line at the movie theater, I get the first ticket. John comes in behind me, he gets the second ticket. I step out of line to go to the bathroom, where should I come back in? Behind John. That's the right thing to do. But John looks at me and goes, hey, I know that you should be in front of me. I'm going to allow you to switch me places in line. That would be a subordination agreement that even though I've only been in line now 1 minute, I'm back at front again. Okay? That's the example of a subordination agreement. Now let's change this example real quick. Let's go back and put that $10,000 HVAC lien that was in there. So now I'm back to that upside down scenario. 100 was to the first, 50 to the second, 10 to the third, right? Fifth Third calls me and says, we want to refinance. So they pay themselves off. What happens to the second lien? Slides up to number 1. Number 3 lien slides up to number 2. And that city Fifth Third comes in at number 3. But wait, there's a problem. Because I have more liens than value, the last $10,000 on my Fifth Third lien, everybody see that? If I got offered 150, first 50 would go to Nat City because they're now the first lien. The next 10 would go to the HVAC, and there's only 90 left, but I owe 100. I couldn't clear that lien. So while this looks good, but wait, you said there's a subordination agreement. Oh, I forgot about that. Let's talk about it. So I'm standing in line at first to go to the movie. John's second in line. Josh walks up and he's now third in line. I step out of line to go to the bathroom. Where should I come in? Behind Josh. That's what we got on the board. But I look at John and go, hey, John, you told me you'd let me back in front of you under our agreement. Josh says, I certainly would. I'm sorry. John says I would, but Josh is going to say, wait a minute, you don't have one with me. So the only way you can go from second to first is that you have to go from third to second before that. Technically, when a person cuts in line, think about this. What they should really do is start at the back line and go, hey, do you mind if I go in front of you? Hey, do you mind if I go in front? And work their way up. Not just go right in and push everybody back. So even though there's a subordination agreement between Fifth Third and Nat City, the fact is there's now someone between us. That subordination agreement would not work. So what happens is Fifth Third goes, wow, Raymond, we really do love you, but we can't do this deal. When they pulled up the title work, they would find out that with that HVAC in there, they can't do my refinance. They would just say, we can't do it, sorry. Because it would put us out of the money, we'd be in third, and we're not going to do it for you, sorry. So you got to stick with your high percentage rate. See that? Now let's touch on one more real quick that we're going to talk about. Real estate taxes. So I don't pay my real estate taxes today, and it's $5,000. So it comes in fourth with today's date. Because it comes in by date, comes in fourth in priority. Do you think the state's really going to do this? What position do you think the state is going to go to? You think the state is going to go to number one priority, right? They do. They go to number one priority. But guess how they do it? They do it in the bully fashion. The state doesn't jump to number one. The state just wipes everybody else out and says, we're number one. Ta-da! Which is why we talked about going to the tax lien sale. Now you understand why banks escrow your taxes. So that the bank doesn't have this. And if you're at home, you can't see it. This is a blank board because everything just got erased. That's what happens. The state comes in and says, we're number one, and they're number one because of what reason that you mentioned earlier? They're the only one left. That's how they're number one. They don't jump to number one and push everybody down. No, no, no. Au contraire, mon frere. Yeah, they go straight up mafia and just wipe everybody out and go, we're the last one standing, therefore we're number one. No subordinate. They don't need it. They just get rid of everybody's. This is why banks now escrow your taxes. We talked about, remember the pity payment? So that the bank, because in a scenario that we just gave, Fifth Third, not only are they out the $100,000 they loaned you, they're out the collateral and the lien against the asset. They don't get the house either. Nor does Nat City for their $50,000, nor does the HVAC guy. So banks will literally pay your taxes for you so that this doesn't happen. Remember, we joked and said that when you make your pity payment, the bank covers you and says, oh, don't worry, we got it. We'll pay your taxes because we love you. No, it's so this doesn't happen. That way, when the taxes come due, the bank's going to go, we don't want to lose our loan or our lien or the property. We'll pay the taxes. And you've been paying them every month up until then. That's why they do it. Okay? Is so this doesn't happen. Let's switch audio files.